Well, what I've been doing is I'll get BCAAs and I mix it up like halfway with ice. And then I just pour my monster in the top part. So it's like half a monster, but I'm getting a lot more water in there, but it's so freaking good. It's really, yeah, just like BCAAs. Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah, 613. Yeah, man, I'm excited to start my day with you guys. This is gonna be fun. Get me all pumped up for the day. Yes, I love it. Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and it was so good meeting you guys too. I think we actually met. Well, it was right as a part of the mastermind, but that couple's goal setting. We got to meet you and Lauren, and that was just awesome. We loved you guys, and yeah. So, like, what context for the fires? Like, more on a business standpoint, like the actual day, or kind of how that fit into our life story, or what that actual day itself is like. Yeah. Yeah, so I get it's going back a little bit. So we moved here in to Maui in September of 2020. And right, right in the middle of COVID when, things were still super crazy out here, super crazy everywhere. And COVID actually really impacted our business that we had started just a few months before COVID. And so we were, well, sort of, yeah, in vacation rentals, but a little bit of a different strategy. And our market specifically was severely impacted with travel from COVID. And so we were at a shifting point, and this opportunity came up to come out here to Hawaii. And we decided to focus more on the cash flow side of things. And so property management was super attractive to us because it was a quick way to scale, and we could add new properties without having a bunch of capital and also without taking on any leverage, which was super attractive to me. Um, and so we got that started, and bought our business here in March of 2021. So after we had gotten settled here for a little bit and decided we wanted to make Maui our full-time move. And we had, you know, gotten familiar with the market here, and that was my main goal when we first bought our business, was to just, learn everything. I didn't want to grow too fast and screw it up. And so I wanted to, take it nice and slow, learn. And we started scaling after about a year in buying our company, and grew by 200% over the next little bit. And then right as we were, just starting to reap all of that, was August 8th of 2023, the day that the fires hit in Maui. And that day was, yeah, it's been over a year now, and it's crazy to just think about that day and how unexpected it was. We woke up, and you never think that your life's just gonna completely change within a few hours. And then, yeah, I mean, we lived right in Lahaina, and we had to evacuate our home. My wife was due, she was 36 weeks pregnant. Yeah, or maybe 34 weeks pregnant, but like, right there. And so we, packed up my four kids plus my pregnant wife, and we fled, and, left. We had time to grab a couple bags each. And, my kids were running out the door like, "Can I grab my skateboard? Can I run up and grab my toy?" And at that point, embers were literally falling in our driveway. And, so we had to tell them no, no, we got to go. And that was, yeah, we were totally engulfed in smoke at that point. And there were literal like chunks of coal, like burning embers falling in our driveway. I mean, all around our house. So we got out of there, and, you know, evacuated and dealt, really with all of that personally, which was something we had never experienced before. And then, you know, so we so we were displaced for about 3 months. Because my wife was 32, 34 weeks pregnant, we flew back to Utah. And that was actually one of the most heartbreaking experiences I've ever felt, was having to leave, because this place has really become our home. All the people here, everyone here in Maui is, feels like our family. And so having to leave in a time when we felt like they needed us and we wanted to be here, even though we had just lost, you know, everything, we wanted to be here to support them. And it was like, I didn't break down at all. Felt like I had to be the one holding everything together. It's going to be okay. We've got this, just staying calm and guiding my family through this. And then as we wake up and start driving to the airport, I just lost it. And, just that feeling of leaving right when, you feel like you're needed, was so heartbreaking. Just felt so helpless and humbling to experience that. And we flew to Utah, and then my wife ended up going to labor a couple weeks early. So about almost exactly a month after the fires, we had our baby, and which was the biggest blessing. Before she was born, it was so stressful. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're having a baby during all of this. And, and I'm trying to keep my business going. All our owners have so many questions. What's going on? I'm flying back and forth between Utah and Maui, and about to have a baby, and it's just absolute chaos. But once our baby was born, I mean, that was just the most, it was totally meant to be, because having her in our life was just so much hope. And, having that, a brand newborn baby in the midst of all the destruction. I mean, there's so much, like, yeah, it's just a lot of, symbolism. I mean, you can take a lot from that. It's really cool. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, luckily I have an awesome team here in my business, and my the my manager that I had in charge of all of my maintenance for our properties at the time, he lived up north, so he wasn't affected. He was still within the area of Maui that was totally shut down. But his house was fine. He had his car, and we none of us had cell service for a couple weeks, which was crazy, or internet. But so after we evacuated, we actually spent the night at Brody and Andrea's house. We drove straight to their house, slept at their house, and then the next morning I drove up to his place to check on him and talk. And I didn't even have cell service yet, but we were, yeah. So I talked with him, said, hey, we're gonna try and fly out of here. Are you gonna be okay? you know, he's like, I got this. You do what you need to do. You take care of your family. I got everything on the ground here. You don't have to worry. And that was, just amazing to have that. And so, over the next little bit, once we could get back access into our condos, because that was, guests were having to leave, and it was just a lot of chaos there. But after a couple days, once we knew all our guests had vacated, he was able to get into all the properties, get them cleaned out, get all the food out, everything, because there was no power still over here, so that we could do just damage control in all our properties. And that was really comforting to all of our owners, which was one of the big you know to dos on our risk mitigation. So that was taken care of. And then my other team that handles all of our reservations, we sent a notice out to all of our guests, and everybody was calling us. We had to refund like 400 reservations, people coming. And so we send out a mass email like, hey, look, we just got personally affected by this. We are going to take care of you. Give us 2 weeks to process all of this. So then my team, they handled all processing all those reservations, which was just amazing for me. So having a good team honestly made the business side of it a lot easier. And so I flew. Then it was safety for my family. First immediate need was safety for my family, getting them out. We're with friends in a safe place. I'm able to get risk mitigation set up for my business. Then we were able to get in touch with my wife's family, and we had like less one bar of cell service. It was like you're hearing every other word from each other. We get a hold of her. I'm like, book us whatever flight you can out of here. And I just gave my wife's sister our credit card number, and she booked us a flight, because I'm thinking, everybody here is going to need to get out, and we can't be stuck here. Who knows what the hospitals are going to be like. With We don't even know what happened in Lahaina yet at this point, how much was affected, anything. And so I'm, my mindset of a dad whose wife's about to have a baby, I'm thinking, is it going to be months till, what could happen here? And I can't put my family at risk having a baby in a totally unknown circumstances. So we got that flight booked going back to Utah. I told, we flew, my wife, myself, our kids, we all flew back to Utah, stayed with my in-laws, and then the next day I hopped back on a flight to come back to Maui. Yeah, because, oh yeah, I didn't, it was, yeah, I mean, that whole week is such a blur, because so we touched down, and then, literally just, or I was there for one day. And it was actually cool because I was able to get a bunch of supplies that people needed, and I flew back bags and bags worth of supplies. And Southwest didn't make me pay for any of the bags, which was awesome. They sent, we took like 10, 15 bags worth of supplies back. And then I got back here, and at this point, we didn't know if our what the situation was with our home, and we didn't know if it made it or if it didn't. And it turned out actually only the side of our home we were living in burned, and so it burned up the side of our home, our surfboards, and everything. And but the house was still there, but like there was no power. The whole sewer system of the city was gone, so it's totally uninhabitable. But so I once I touched ground back in Maui that Saturday, I drove to our home, got inside, and started trying to pack up whatever I could. And then I'm here for a few days trying to help in whatever ways I can with delivering supplies around to people and just trying to be a resource because now I know my family's safe, so it's just me, and I'm just sleeping wherever and trying to trying to help out as much as I can. And then I flew back to Utah once it felt like I wasn't really needed as much, and went back with my family, brought our stuff home, and my wife's like, all our clothes smell. We can't wear these. I had no idea because I'm just, in the and desensitized because you're walking through all the, burn areas. So you go into your house and you think it's all fine, but so anyway, we ended up having to throw almost everything away that we. Oh yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Mm. No, we didn't have loss of income insurance on our business. We just have liability um, and coverage for our physical office and physical assets, which wasn't impacted, but our revenue was more so. We lost a couple of our properties that were in Lahaina that we managed, but most of our properties were not damaged physically. But because of the impact it's had on tourism, it's had a severe impact on our rental revenue. That that's come in from it. So no, we didn't. There's a little bit of personal, help that the government gave, but nothing compared to everything we had. Yeah. But yeah, no, nothing on the business. So we yeah, we've just had to push through and make it. I mean, for the first couple months, you're really just you don't know what's going on. Your adrenaline's so amped up, and I'm going forth between like just deja vu because it so much of it felt similar to what we experienced in COVID, and it felt like I'm living it all over again. And so in some ways, I felt a little bit prepared for the stress of it, and how to deal with that. and you know, staying calm, getting creative, just trying to do whatever you can. And in other ways, I'm like, just in disbelief, like, how did this happen to me again? we really, and we were, had just gotten over a big hurdle in our business right before the fires, and had a really great trajectory looking forward. And so that was just really disappointing at the same time. But I don't know, my personality, I know nothing good comes from that. So yeah, it's disappointing, but I can't live in that state, because while it may be true, it's not serving me. It does nothing for me thinking that. And then the getting help from the government, the different programs they had, we started filling out the applications, doing that. It just felt like so time consuming, and you got to go through all these steps. And I would rather just focus on what I can control. I could go through all of this with the government, submit all these applications, and still get nothing from it. And I just waste all that time. Or I can buckle down, work on my business, what I know, what I can control, and make something happen. And I think, you know, you just realize, people do want to help. There've been absolutely amazing people that have helped in this tragedy, and it was really eye-opening to me to see how, and really touching, all the messages we got, all the people that reached out to us. And a lot of people personally offered, did send us help and assistance, which was, you know we were so grateful for. um, but then also, at the end of the day, people move on with their lives. And you know people will help, but at the end of the day, no one's going to come and save you. Like, you have to go out and do it. And that really lit a fire under me. And looking back now, I'm like really actually grateful for the experience, because things were going really well, and I was feeling kind of complacent a little bit before the fires. And and so, looking back now, I feel like in a year, 2 years from now, we're going to be in a much better place than we even would have been had we not gone through this, because of what it's forced us to do and grow. Just to, not let something like this stop us. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Like, and it is so humbling. Like, I don't say that to discredit anything that people have done to help, because so many people have, helped in a lot of ways, the church and, friends and family, and, our in-laws letting us stay with them for 3 months. My brother let us, use a car while we were in Utah, like amazing, amazing things. And I think more, it's like nobody's going to do it for you though. They can give you the help, and, and really that did get us through the few months. But then if you just sit on that and you're like, okay, we're good. We got, this help, and you don't do anything, but, you got to take that and use that to then go and make it happen and go, because nobody's going to make that happen for you. And it's also when it's really changed the way I look at the sacrifice of the Savior too, because like no mortal person is going to sacrifice their own well-being for you. Like very few will do that. And for not for everybody either. And I think in some cases when you have a badge on, or you're sign up for a certain duty job, people are doing that. But the Savior, he that's exactly what he did. That was his love and sacrifice, was totally putting his well-being and his life for somebody else. Because most people, it's like, okay, I'm going to help with what I have in excess, but I'm not going to take from my own goodness to give to somebody else. That's just a totally different level of love and sacrifice. Mm. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think anytime you have constraints, I heard a quote. It was when I was in school at BYU at the Marriott School, but it was like creativity thrives with constraints. And when you have a tragedy happen, there's constraints everywhere. And so you're forced to adapt. You're forced to think, get outside the box, and make something work within the circumstances that you have. And so and I think that also comes if you're dwelling in that place of, poor me, I can't believe this happened. The reason it doesn't serve you is because it inhibits creativity. But because you have no control over that, but the second you say, okay, this happened, but I can still control this, you're giving yourself the freedom to create. Versus when you dwell on that, you take away your freedom to create, because now the circumstance has control over you. And so that constraint drives that creativity, and also has just motivated us to be better in every single way. Because our business is all based on travel. So we manage properties for owners here. So Ben, like if you are saying, hey, I want a second home in Maui, I love Maui, but while we don't use it, let's make some money on it. You would hire me to manage it for you. We advertise it, rent it out when you're not using it, maintain it, take care of it. So you've got, peace of mind knowing that somebody's taking care of your property. We send you a check for the rental income, and then we get a percentage of the income from it. That's how I earn. That's how we earn our money. And so with travel being down the percentage it is, they're like last month only, out of all the properties here, the occupancy was like 30%. Where, yeah, Yeah, still. And a lot of it, and we could go the whole island, and we could, a lot of it's because of the media, because they are trying to pass a law over here that would take away some vacation rentals, but the media is portraying it is they're saying every vacation rental in Maui is illegal, which is false. Our vacation rentals are legal, and there's a few that it could impact, but the majority of ours are in hotel zone and wouldn't be. But people looking to travel don't know that. They just see this "woe is me" headline, which I think is so unethical on the media standpoint, because they don't realize their headline to benefit on their profit, what they're actually doing to businesses by doing false reporting, and which isn't true what they're saying. And so that's still impacting us, but it's forced us to be perfect. Because if I get a 4-star review on one of our properties or a 3-star review, that's going to tank my search results, and we're not going to be able to compete, and no one's going to find our listing. So operationally, we've tightened all of our processes up. Where before it was easy, you could get a 4-star review and it didn't really have an impact because everyone's going to get booked out. But so now, I mean, our reviews are amazing. We've in the last 6 months, we've doubled our number of Google 5-star reviews. We're like a perfect 5-star on Google, so people are finding us a bit more, and our homeowners are happy with how we're caring for their property, and my business's occupancy has been over 60%. So we're doubling what the market's doing, and we've been tightening up all of our pricing, everything we can for our properties to perform better. And so we've actually picked up 15 new units in the last 4 months, which is, yeah, just, and from owners that call me and they are like, we haven't had a booking in months. We have no bookings on our calendar. Can you help me? And we've been able to list them, and instantly within a week they've got their first booking, and we have them up to the same occupancy of all of our other properties. So we just, what I have right after this, we're shooting our penthouse suite at the Hanuakai that we just picked up, and it's 5 units. And I reached out to him because I saw his property on VRBO, and the calendar was totally empty. And our 3-bedroom that we're managing is running super well. And it blew my mind because his property is way better view. It's, the penthouse suite is a $6 million condo. And so I reached out and said, hey, your bookings are really low. This is what we're doing on our 3-bedroom. And it still took a couple of months of going back and forth talking. And it was kind of a miracle. I ran into him at the resort 2 weeks ago. Yeah, just he happened to be there, and I recognized him from our Zoom call, and I'm like, Eric, and I he was in his car, and I was across the street, and I walk over, and we start talking, and he invites me to come up, and we sit down, and he signs up with us, and he has 5 units in there, and he says, if you can do this, he gave me 2 of them. He says, if you can do this with my 2, I'll give you all 5. It's like, let's make this happen. And so, and that's a huge foot in the door for us to this. Like, the Hanuakai is the premier, best resort you can be in West Maui for a condo tel. And so, you know, we could be in a way better spot in, 1, 2 years, as we use this time of outperforming the larger companies, our bigger competition, to fuel our growth. And then as the revenue starts coming back in Maui, we'll be, you know, have a larger number of units, revenue will come back, and we're pretty hopeful for that. Yeah. We do. We're on 8 different channels, VRBO and Airbnb being 2 of those. And but within those platforms, you have to do a lot of work to optimize. And when the market's hot, everyone's going to get booked out. So you don't really have to do much. But when the market's slow, when you think about it, if there's 5,000 available listings, someone's not scrolling through 5,000 properties. So they're only looking at the first two, 3 pages. So if you don't optimize and show up on those, you don't get booked. So what starts to happen is you have a huge gap between the high performing properties and the low performing properties where you capture the momentum and it's a snowball effect, and you generate all the bookings because you get them, you get the reviews, and you get. But once you get stale, you get no bookings, no reviews, and then you keep decreasing in search results. Yeah, exactly. I think it's really just getting trust with homeowners. And when I bought this business, I was 27, 20, yeah, 27, or I just turned 28. It was, yeah, March of 2021. So 3.5 years ago. And at least with this scale of properties, like these homeowners, they own a $6 million condo and he owns five of them. He's a very wealthy person. And, our other properties are, the same. And so it's just an older demographic that I deal with. And they really like a young person. But when I first bought the business, that's why I didn't try to grow at all the first year. I just wanted to learn. And the last thing I wanted to do was buy management contracts and lose a homeowner. And, I just lost what I purchased. Because that's the reality, at least in buying a business, there's more risk in that. And you got to know really what you're doing operationally to not mess that up. And we had structured our deal really well with the existing owners staying on and being an advisor and helping and being financially invested in our success as well. And so I learned a ton from them in the first year. And then that's when we started growing. But just being able, at least in property management, being able to earn the confidence of homeowners. We're like, oh, I want to start a property management company in Utah. We're like, great. But those first couple of properties are going to be really hard unless you already know somebody and you know a friend who's just going to trust you with no track record. But the track record is super important, and homeowners want to see that you have experience with a property like theirs as well before they're willing to trust you with their. And so that's a big part of it. And then really, it's just an operational beast. Like with the storage and being a service company, especially dealing with people's properties. I mean, anything can happen, and so having core principles is super important. But then being able to adapt situationally to whatever's thrown at you, because every day, you know, today 3 of my refrigerators could go out, and I've got guests coming in that just paid $20,000 to come here for a week. I can't get them a fridge in 3 days. I got to get them a fridge today. So, it's a lot of operational pressure there. So having a really good team is essential because you can't, there's no way I could do it on my own. Yeah, I mean, and there's like, sometimes I kick myself on not being consistent in different things because it's like, oh, I could be, be so much better and I've been more consistent in all those areas over the last like 15 years, 10 years. And so, but when I, look back, there's, because like you said earlier, like I don't want to just be okay. My like mission is I want to be my absolute best in anything I do. I want to reach my full potential, and I think that's a huge part of my faith is, reaching my full potential and capacity as a child of God. But then, and so there's been periods of my life where you just kind of hyper focus. I think that's my personality. Like I got into fitness when I was 15 because I was really overweight. I weighed the same when I was 15 as I do now, but I could only bench press. Yeah, I mean, I could only bench press 115 pounds versus, you know, benching 315 for 10. And so there's, just but when I was 15, I just hyper focused on learning everything I possibly could on fitness, eating. Like, I read every possible book. And, back then it was a lot harder to get that information. But, and I was training and just fell in love with exercise. And then, fast forward, I go on my mission and I just hyper focused. Like, that's where all my attention was. And, built a huge foundation of my faith, preparing to go serve a mission for our church. And then, we get married and then I'm in school, and that was like a period of just absolute hyper focus mode. And I feel like those hyper focus modes are, for me at least, the way that it's worked out in my life. I learn and get really good at something and learn it. And during that time period, you build habits, and those habits can carry you really far without having to put a ton of attention in that thing still at once you've built your foundation in that. And where I've struggled in my life is whenever I stop those habits because I'm hyper focusing on something else. And then my, fitness kind of starts falling off, or, the marriage starts falling off. And it's really taken me until the last couple of years to just learn that. And it kind of drives me crazy. Like, gosh, like, why do you make the same mistake over and over again? But I feel like that's where I've really tried to hone in on the last couple of years is those habits and being a really habitual person, because I've been able to hyper focus at times in business and fitness. A couple years ago, we noticed after I was hyper focusing on business that our marriage was, you know, took a hit from that. And luckily our business was in a point where this was 6 months before the fires. Our business was in a point where I really didn't have to put in a ton of time, and it was doing well. And so we were able to hyper focus on our marriage. But that totally has carried us through everything we went through with the fires, because we had built those habits and had that at a foundation. And right now I'm having a really hyper focus in business, but I feel like now I'm at a point where I've learned from my past mistakes of not keeping those habits that's where I'm like that's why my DBF word our mastermind my word for 4 month quarter at the a few months ago the last quarter was discipline and just staying disciplined to those habits because I haven't really been able to put much mental energy into fitness and into even our family, but I am keeping my habits there. So I'm putting my kids to bed every night. We have our date night set aside. We never miss our date night. We make sure we always 30 minutes of no screen time together, where we're talking and just those. And then on my fitness, I'm making sure I'm always getting to the gym. I have my meals. I have those habits in place that once that's built, I don't have to think about it. And so it can go and sustain itself while I have hyper focus on the area that needs it. I'd love to be at a point where like everything's built up and I can just, have my habits and be more balanced, but life just throws what it's going to throw at you. Yeah, yeah. To- Yeah, thank you. I hope that it can help somebody and, people can take something from it. Always nice to talk with you guys. Oh, yeah. Let's go. We're going to make it happen. Yeah, man, we'll do this podcast there next time. Come on over to Maui. Oh, yeah. Well, thank you guys. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Let's do it again.